or both collars up, doesn't really matter. But normally the Zen shirt has long sleeves, this nice covered placket, and an inverted pleat vent in the back. It's a great simple shirt, but its collar is one of its special features. The idea of putting this collar on this shirt, I know Kathy well enough to know that she likes to have something up around her neck a little bit. And so that inner collar that stands up is a nice addition to a cottage shirt. Plus, I have to say, it's a little easier to make. And when we're thinking about summer shirts, sometimes we're thinking easier. Let's get this done so I can wear it now while it's hot in summer. And so I think that was part of the rationale as well. So those little ideas were brewing on the racks in the studio. And I don't know if I think I've talked about this, but there's a group of 6 women, mostly on the East Coast, from New Hampshire to New York to Florida, and then one in Texas, that's hardly East Coast, and Washington, D.C. And these 6 women get together about 4 times a year via Zoom, and they sew together. They set aside an entire day. They meet, Zoom 3 times that day. The first hour is to get acquainted again and talk about what they're going to do and maybe get cut out and so forth for a specific project that they've decided maybe a week or 2 before that. And then in the middle of the day, there's another little session where they catch up. Oh, it's a motivator, you know, to get going. And then at the end of the day, they show the end results. Sometimes garments are finished, sometimes they're not, but it's become a really great thing. And they've allowed me to join this group sometimes if they want me. I love it, actually. So Linda D'Amato from New York State is sort of I don't know that she's the leader of the group particularly, but she's the one who makes the Zoom happen. And she asked me if I would join them for this last round, which was a couple of weeks ago. And they had decided to make cottage shirts. Well, I remembered this cottage that Kathy had made with the Zen collar, and I thought, oh, do you guys want to do a little variation and put the Zen collar on the cottage shirt? They were all over it, wanted to do it, excited about it. So I joined them, and they made their cottage shirts. I cut mine out. I didn't get very far on it. And Linda D'Amato actually sent me hers that she finished, and it doesn't have the buttons on it, and maybe she's going to put buttons and maybe she's not. I'm not sure, because it can be a little jacket as well. But this is a wonderful piece of fabric that came from one member's stash to another member's stash, and finally, after probably a few years, got made up. And you can see that she's used a contrasting plaid silk dupioni for the collar, the inner collar, and the back yoke. And I think this is just a wonderful blend of really nice colors, and it's a great little accent. Just a little bit of something at the collar. And I think this is just as cute as can be. You could wear this open as a jacket, a little jacket over a t-shirt or a tank, or of course you can put buttons on it and wear it as a closed shirt. So thank you, Linda D'Amato, for sending this. It's a real addition to this morning's presentation, and I really appreciate it. So what I had decided to do was based on something that I had seen in a catalog. Some of you may be familiar with the brand called Artful Home. And Hildegard, who's our accountant here, brought this picture in one day and said, oh, I like this. You should make that, Linda. And I looked at it and thought, well, that's the cottage shirt if I ever saw it. So I based my cottage shirt on this Artful Home idea of using a bold print on one side and something lighter, more graphic on the other side. And so this is my Zen collared cottage shirt. Well, we have this fabric that I am just crazy over. Sometimes you'll run into a fabric that's just happy, and this to me is a happy print. I don't normally like big leaves and birds and all of that, but these are the cutest birds and just these big leafy things in gorgeous colors. And it's on a beautiful viscose rayon ground. So I looked around and found this fabric this very bold, graphic black and white floral that I decided I would use on one of the sides. So you can see I used that on the left side and used the bird print on the right side. I used the bird print for the back. And then I thought, well, I'm going to accent that with even another fabric. Pulled out this little black and white floral. I hardly call this a floral, but it is a floral. It's a very stylized flower shape with a center on it in black and off-white, basically. And then I chose this marigold yellow with a little white dot in it for the inner collar and the sleeve bands. So I had this all cut out for the Saturday Zoom call and meeting session with all these gals. And I got some things pressed and I got a few things sewn, but I did not get done. And so the evolution of how this all evolved is I got back to it last weekend, and in the meantime, we had sold quite a bit of this fabric last week because Kathy had presented it as one of the pieces to piece into one of the Eureka tops. And so in thinking about today, I thought, well, I should probably really make it in something that we have some yardage of. And so Erin and I pulled out this black and white stripe, black and cream stripe, which I really, really like. And I got it cut out, the left front. And just by itself, I don't know, I thought it was okay. But mostly, I decided that I already had this cut out, I already had it pressed, I already had the front sewn. I was down the river on this. And I just decided to finish this and maybe make another one or just get back to this. Well, then I got all inspired to back some of this fabric with heat and bond, and then I cut out some of the motifs, a couple of leaves, some little branches, and one of the birds, and I actually fused this on with the idea that I would sit down at the good old television time and do some hand stitching, either applique this on by hand or just some random straight stitches. I hadn't really worked that part out, but in my mind this was going to be stitched on. But this is just a piece of yardage that's hanging over this dress form. This actually is a left front of the cottage shirt that's cut out in a size medium. And I thought I'd show it to you today because I like the effect a lot. There's a nice balance going on. It gives you that mixture of fabrics that's going on in a lot of the ready-to-wear pieces that we're seeing today, but this is not quite as strong maybe as this. And I think it has a lot of possibilities. It even has a great selvage on it. I don't know if, I think it's on the other end, a very colorful selvage. And I thought about even putting one of the selvages pieces through here and adding a little pop of color vertically. So there's all kinds of things to do with this. But Erin was commenting this morning that even though we have basically black and cream and black and white, they really do feel very different. I haven't really stood back and looked at both of them together because it's on me. But she's telling me that there's a real difference in in the flavor of them, even though they're essentially the same concept and they start with the same bird fabric. Now, I love this fabric so much. This is cottage. This is the shape of the Zen shirt collar. There are two collars. There's an outer collar that's taller and an inner collar that's shorter, but they're the same circumference. And so I took my curve runner, remember the great curve runner, which we have back in stock. And if we run out of them, if you order them, we can get more, so don't fear. So I measured this along the seam line, and I've come up with something like 20 3/4 or something like that. That's not right. That can't be. Of course not. That's 8 3/4. Ooh. And so you would double that figure, of course, for the entire circumference. So then you have to do the same thing on the collar. Now, I looked at this piece and didn't really read. I know all of you read, but I forget. And so I made the assumption that because of the shape of this collar, that this was the edge that attached to the neck, because most collars flare out, right? So I measured this edge first, compared it to that, and went, oh my gosh, that is not even close to fitting. What am I doing wrong? And then I read the pattern where it says shoulder, has the notch, has the dot, has a dot here. I realized, oh, this is the edge that gets attached to the garment. So I measured that, and I realized that this collar was a little small to fit on this neck. And so you can see I have added about a ½ inch or so, about an inch total actually, to the collar, because this is on the fold. So just remember, you're working half and half, or you can work total and total, either one. But you've got to think about this half has to fit this half. And then it fit just perfectly. But this, without this tool, this is pretty tricky. You can use a tape measure standing on edge and measure around, but with this curve runner, it really makes it easy to get a very accurate measurement. And I felt like this had to be accurate. So that's how you do it. There's nothing very mysterious about it. I could have added the length to here, but I decided to add it to the center back, so that, because this begins to flatten in the back and your curve is still happening in the front, and I didn't want to change how that attaches at the front. I wanted the curves to stay pretty much the same. So that's the Zen collar on the cottage shirt. When I was thinking about this shirt and what size to make, you know, I was looking at this original picture and realizing this is super, super oversized. So I would normally make a small in the cottage shirt, and I made a medium. Now, if I'd wanted to have that look of the Artful Home shirt, I probably could have cut out an extra large and been just fine, knowing that these fabrics are very drapey. I'm going to get that kind of lengthening, good drape going. So if I'd made it something very stiff, I wouldn't have done that. But even just going up one size, I think, gave me the look that I wanted, which was a looser, more flowy cottage shirt. Then this is a shirt pattern that can work in something fairly stiff. I've put this away, I guess. Sorry. Like this is a kind of a Guatemalan weight, almost canvas weight, and it works just fine. And Linda D'Amato's garment is fairly crisp as well, a nice crisp cotton. Has almost like a glaze feeling on the face of it. So it can go either way, but for this garment I wanted purposely something drapey. I'm wearing this with my Picasso pants, my good old standards in my cotton and lycra, my black cotton and lycra. I wore these yesterday. I'll probably wear them tomorrow. I mean, they're my favorite pants. So anyway, I love the combo though of the shorter shirt, somewhat shorter shirt with the Picasso pants. One of the nice things I like about this particular pattern is that it has a nice deep 6-inch hem. And that just gives it a little more of a quality feeling about it. I like the weight that it gives it, rather than just a little handkerchief hem on the bottom. It's just a nice finish. One thing to note, yes, this is just a sort of a regular arm's eye opening, but if you tend to have larger arms, you may want to measure this and make sure. I've had some comments from people that this has gotten a little tight on them right here. So let's say you're going to make a large, but your arms are a little bit larger. You know, you can always cut out the XXL arm's eye and armband to put on the large size, or even smaller than that. So you can change the sizes of that opening by just cutting a different size, since all the sizes are on the pattern. All right, let's look at some fabrics. Well, of course, we have our bird print, and we have the little floral that I used for the back yoke and the outer collar. This is the alternative. Both of these are viscose. This, I believe, is viscose and silk. I don't have the tag on it for some reason, but I'm fairly sure it has a little bit of silk in it. But they all have the same character of drape, and they all really work well together. Now this is viscose and has a little bit of linen in it, 30% linen. So it's a little coarser in texture, but I didn't have a problem using that for these smaller parts to the cottage shirt. We have some of this left. So what we've done, in case you're interested in replicating what I have on, you're going to need about 2 yards of this fabric. You really only need about 1 2/3, maybe 1 3/4. But we sell, of course, in half-yard increments. So you're going to want to order 2 yards of this. You're going to want 1 yard of this to do, because there's 2 yokes. There's an inner and outer. One other feature of this garment is that it has what we call the burrito technique of a totally finished inside of the yoke. So the shoulder seams are hidden, the back yoke seam is hidden, all between the 2 layers of yoke. So you do need that much fabric for that. You're going to need a half a yard or 1 yard of this. You need a yard if you're going to make this garment. If you're going to use this in other components, you can order a half yard of it. We have opened it up so that you can order a half a yard of this stripe, a half a yard of the yellow. Did we do it for this? A half a yard of this. And then we've measured out what we have left of this fabric, and we're prepared to cut this into a size that will work for 1 front. But we only have 5 pieces. So if you go to the website and find this product, then it's going to be sold by the piece, and a piece is 30 inches by 36 inches, and we only have 5 of them left. So just make a note that this is a little bit of a special condition. We don't normally do that on our website. We don't even normally sell in half-yard increments, but we were able to do that on these products. So the first 5 people who want this are going to get it, but I wanted to show you a really, really, really good alternative in the stripe as well. Or I think you could use the black and white polka dot for the other side of it as well. I also like that. So here's another little series of things that are really fun. This is also a very happy rayon fabric. These bold colors with that splash of just grass green and yellow and orange. It's just fantastic. But look at this fun thing. This is a random insertion of a little ladder print. And that would make a fabulous collar, either inner collar or outer collar or sleeve band. So you have a built-in contrasting something to use with that. I think it looks good with the mustard or the marigold dot fabric. I think it looks good with this fabric. It also, if you want to change from the more marigold color to a little rustier color, this is a dot fabric, very much like the one I've used, only in a different color. I love it with the graphic black and white polka dot. I love the way those polka dots are kind of cut up. So in a sense, this almost feels like a series of stripes. You have to pay attention to that just a little bit. If you're thinking about matching or not matching, I probably wouldn't bother. But especially if you're using one piece on one side, then of course you wouldn't have to worry about that at all. This just walked in the door. This is a wonderful fuchsia pink, a couple of, and orange. You know, this harkens back to the 1970s in my interior design days when we were doing interiors in pink and orange. And every time I see that, I'm thinking, well, I've been there. Now this happens to be navy, but I still think it works with black, but it is dark navy. And then this is a really fun print that just came in. It's also viscose. I'm sorry, this is silk. And this is one of those sort of vacation, I'll call it, prints. You know, you have the cabana with the fish and the palm trees and the pineapple and the surfboards, and this is a really, really fun summer print to either combine with something else or to just make a great summer cottage shirt. Then we have some other fabrics that I think, these are, I think, more standalone fabrics. They're cotton, and so they don't have the drape of all of these viscose prints that are on the wall. But we have a little bit of this one left over, and this is a fun one to think about using. and maybe even breaking up. I do like this with the black and white polka dot. I think that's a lot of fun. So maybe you use a little bit of the polka dot for collars or the sleeve band and use this as the primary part of the shirt. This says summer to me. I'm crazy about this Liberty of London print that has, this is going to be upside down to you, but I love things that have architecture in them. So this is, that's interesting. I can just show that piece, I guess. Not sure why this is the way it is. All right, here we go. So this is Liberty of London. You already know that this is the finest cotton that you'll find today. But here we have the beachfront with the palm trees, the boats, the water, and this just says, oh, cool, breeze, sun, sand, all the good things. And then, if you're someone who likes the desert, the Southwest, this is another Liberty of London with mountains and landscape and cactus and other plantings, and I love this as well. This just feels so good and would make a really fun cottage shirt. I think it would be great with this mustard with it. Probably works with this one as well. And I like it with the polka dot. And then another graphic print that I think is fun is this big bold leaf in the green and cream and pink. And that would make a great cottage shirt as well. All right. So we have, of course, things on sale this week. We have all the fabrics. Remember, these are panels only. And we have two patterns, the cottage shirt and the Now and Zen shirt. And we have the curve runner. We've put that on sale. So that's a good time to buy one of these. And we have two tutorials for you this time. One called Perfect Corners. And that's all about getting these perfect corners on the ends of your collars, whether it's this sort of collar or the regular cottage shirt collar stand, but it has miters in it. It's just full of all kinds of tricks about getting really good corners. And then if you're a member of So Confident Series 7, in the second quarter, there's a whole tutorial on the cottage shirt and how to make it. But you can buy that as a single unit, that second quarter piece. So Confident, Series 7, second quarter, cottage shirt. All right. Any questions?
Okay. What is the background color of the large leaf bird print?
Black.
Okay.
The back, are you mic'd? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is a black background.
Okay. Oh, wait, there is a comment that the 5 pieces of the large print are already gone.
Okay.
So, just a FYI.
Take it away.
Is the bird a teal color?
Well, the bird here is more of a blue, taupe, orange, green. We have an orange, white, brown, teal. I guess those are the two colors of the birds. So this is definitely teal. Various greens here, but teals right here, and the bird brings the teal back into it.
Okay. I would like to see the rose on black leaf pattern held up next to the bird fabric.
This one? Oh, wait, which one?
The rose on black leaf. I wonder if maybe that was before you described that one as a navy background.
Yeah. There's that one, but let's.
What would you mix that one with?
What would I mix? Well, I would mix it with the black and white polka dot. I think that's pretty cool. And then maybe they were talking about this one. I don't know. That even works. I like the stripe with this. I like this with it. Let me get that out again. And I don't know, we might have something else. I didn't really look, but we might have something in our inventory. That's pretty nice.
And I'd say if you love that, fuchsia, if there isn't something up here, we can always give us
yes.
a call, and we can always
Absolutely.
match something for you.
Yes.
So that same rose with navy with other rose chartreuse and navy. I wonder if it's that mixing the one over there by the window. Yes, with mixing those two together.
Oh, that's kind of interesting. They're different characters of fabric. This one is super drapey, this is cotton. I don't know if I would do that. It would depend on what you're doing. I don't know that I would do a side by side with this because the drape is so different, but I would definitely pop it with one in small pieces. But I don't love this as much.
Okay.
But we could probably find some things to go with that.
I think so.
Yeah.
Because there were some questions about different colorways, things that didn't have orange and green, and like more of a summer palette versus.
So when somebody says summer, they think like white and pink and blue and
I think so.
whatever.
I'm trying to find that
because I
comment.
consider this to be very summery, but
I think just a different colorway for different different people.
But no, this is the colorway that this is available in. The only one.
Right. Well, and I think something like that for me, you could pull out the blues if you're more of a blue person,
Right.
or pull out the reds and the oranges if those are
Or
your
the
colors.
teals. Right.
So pull out the colors and then
Right.
accent them with the colors that you love.
Right. This would also make a great skirt.
Yes, the Eureka that you did a couple
Right.
weeks ago, mix it. That would be nice.
It would also make a great London shirt. It's a big oversized shirt.
So how well do you think the black and white large dots work with the large tropical print? Which would be the bottom tropical print?
Not so great.
No, the cream and the white.
Yeah. But great with this.
Well, and even I kind of like down along the bottom, it has the yellow dot with the mustard dot and then the stripe and then the bottom tropical print. That could work too.
Yeah.
Okay, they had a question about your buttons. Maybe I can just get a closer shot.
Well, I made this at home over the weekend, and so these buttons are from my stash, and they're old, they're vintage, they're Bakelite. But they do have a little dot on them of some sort.
To go with the mustard.
So I didn't come to the studio and find buttons over the weekend.
Okay. Not a lot of questions.
I did, by the way, just put 4 instead of the normal 6 because they're bigger. And I did not put one up here. I put this on in front of the mirror and determined where I wanted the first button.
Can you hold up the black and white large dot with the bird print?
Like here to here?
Yes, those two together.
I think that looks great.
I like that. Especially when you throw in that smaller black and white floral.
Right.
Mixing
All
those.
3 of those are fantastic.
Right.
Yep.
We did have a comment that people are having trouble seeing comments, so I don't know if I am as well. So if you do have a comment that I'm not getting to, I apologize, because it does seem like there aren't as many comments today.
Okay.
So sorry about that if that's the
All
case. But if you do have a different colorway that you have in mind, just give us a call or email.
Right. And one thing we're going to do, when we see the orders that come in for the stripe, we're going to throw the people's names in the hat, and you'll get this panel with your order, whoever we choose, whoever comes out of the hat.
And we can announce that, right? We can announce the winner.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we did have one more question. How do you attach the collars? So
Well, the collar on the Zen it's like a French seam, in a sense. So you make this collar, and you make this collar. Excuse me. And you put this outer collar on first, after having stay stitched the neck opening and clipping it. So this gets attached to the garment on the outside, and then the inner collar gets attached to the inside of the garment so that the garment is sandwiched between the inner collar and outer collar. And so all of those are sewn together at the seam allowance of the neck. Then that seam allowance is trimmed, and both collars are brought up together, and you sew next to this seam, and that you encase the little trim seam in there. So it's totally clean on the inside and outside. So you do not see a seam allowance. It's a really brilliant technique.
Would the sienna shirt work with a no stand collar?
Would the sienna shirt work with the no? Absolutely. You could put the Zen collar on the sienna shirt, or you could put any collar. You know, take a collar that you like and do the same thing. Measure the circumference of the opening, measure the collar, and just put it on. You know, that's how you change collars. Is you like the style of one, put it on another, but just make sure they fit. And you're always measuring on the seam line to seam line. Don't forget that.
Is the smaller collar, does it have a stiffer interfacing to stand up?
No, I put interfacing on all 4 layers, both of these layers and both of these layers. And I used our Japanese ultra shear interfacing. You know, I always put interfacing on both collars, but because this is drapey rayon, I did, and I wanted this to stand up, so I did. But the same interfacing. I use the same interfacing for every fabric, every condition.
Okay, well that's all I see. I guess if there were any other questions, if you wanted to retype them, I did see a couple pop up that it looks like somebody retyped it. So, okay, we're back. Try again.
Back. Okay, I'm just saying goodbye, basically.